Anti-Semitism is another word for hatred of Jews. It has existed for a very long time and still exists today. When Jews are verbally or physically abused, this is called anti-Semitism. The murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazis during World War II is the most extreme example of anti-Semitism. But how did it come about? And how do you recognize anti-Semitism? But first, what makes a person Jewish? You are Jewish when you have a Jewish mother. Many Jews are religious, but there are several different movements within Judaism, and you can also be Jewish without believing in God. Many Jews see themselves as part of the Jewish people. Jews live all over the world. That has been the case for 2,000 years, ever since the Romans took the Jews into slavery and brought them to Rome in the year 70 AD. After this, Jews spread out all over the world. Jews are a small minority in many countries. Often they are farmers, traders, or laborers living together peacefully with the other people in the country. But often, Jews were forced to live separately, isolated from the rest. Sometimes they lived in a ghetto, a closed-off neighborhood within the city. During the Middle Ages, the era from the year 500 to 1500, Jews were also a minority in Europe. Most people in Europe were Christians, and they had little contact with Jews. Old prints showed that Jews were viewed as different, or that they were hated even. Christians did not like that the Jews had a different religion, and that they did not see Jesus as their Savior and the Son of God. Some Christians even saw Jews as the people who murdered Jesus. Jews also had different customs. That is why Jews were often discriminated against, and many professions were prohibited to Jews. But they were allowed to work in trade and finance. The negative image of Jews continued to exist beyond the Middle Ages. When a country was not doing well, negative stories about Jews started to appear. They were excluded and even persecuted. Because a small but visible group of Jews was working in trade or finance, they were accused of being power-hungry, causing all kinds of ghost stories about Jews to appear. These stories were handed down from generation to generation and became deeply rooted. During the 20s and 30s of the 20th century, Hitler and the Nazis used these old ghost stories. They made Jews into scapegoats. For example, Hitler accused Jews of being the cause of the economic crisis. Losing World War I was also their fault, according to Hitler. Hitler and the Nazis saw the world as a struggle between the human races. More and more people started to believe that Jews caused problems and that the Germanic people were better.
Wenn es dem internationalen Finanzjudentum in und außerhalb Europas gelingen sollte, die Völker noch einmal in einen Weltkrieg zu stürzen, dann wird das Ergebnis nicht die Bolschewisierung der Erde und damit der Sieg des Judentums sein, sondern die Vernichtung der jüdischen Rasse in Europa.
In 1933, Hitler and the Nazis came to power in Germany. They took more and more measures to discriminate against Jews. For example, Jews were not allowed to marry other Germans anymore. People were also called upon not to buy from Jewish-owned shops anymore. In 1939, World War II started. Germany conquered country after country in Europe. In 1941, the Nazis decided to systematically persecute and kill all Jews in Europe. This is called the Holocaust, or the Shoah. And not only Jews, other groups like disabled, Roma and Sinti, and gay people were also persecuted. A total of 6 million Jews were killed. World War II ended in 1945. But anti-Semitism still exists. It shows up in different places, in different ways. Sometimes very openly, when people on the street are verbally or physically abused for looking Jewish, when Jewish cemeteries or places of prayer are vandalized, or when anti-Jewish slogans are chanted during soccer games. Hatred and prejudice against Jews can also be found online. For example, myths like Jews are secretly in power in many countries, Jews control the media, or Jews control the global financial markets. Myths and ghost stories that are from the Middle Ages and still exist today. Sometimes, it is unclear whether something is anti-Semitism or not. Lethal attacks on Jewish people are a clear case, but discussions about the Middle East or Israel are harder to judge. Some people make remarks that are obviously hateful against all Jews, but criticism on Israel is not always anti-Semitic. Prejudices, negative remarks, and extreme opinions can be offensive to Jews. They contribute to a negative image of all Jews and to the age-old ghost stories and myths. In short, anti-Semitism has existed for a long time, and unfortunately, it still does.